Cheers, y'all.
Well. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine little radio program, the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. Hi, Mom. We are all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars, and we're brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston, and in the shops at Clear Fork and Fort Worth, BB Italia on Memorial in Houston, and BB Lemon on Washington Ave, and the Annie Cafe and Bar on Post Oak Boulevard in Houston, all owned by the same fine restaurateurs and bar owners and managers, and they do great work, and they're all wonderful places to eat and hang out. And
you are so good at running that down. Have you ever thought about having a career in radio?
Oh, man, there are no careers in radio. I don't know what
not
you're
anymore,
about.
Right?
There used to be, but not anymore. Ian, welcome. It's show number 175.
You do realize that we're halfway to 200
We're
now,
halfway
right?
to 200.
Halfway to 200.
It's very exciting. It's very exciting. Welcome to the show. As you probably noticed, new and different intro music today. And so I'm not sure if that should be our intro music or not. We picked out several that we'll try across the next couple of weeks, and then we'll see maybe what we liked the best, what we thought was the best to stay. But we'll have also all new bumper music too.
Also, so we're looking for music from people that we know.
Right.
Or
people that own the masters,
and can give us permission to use it. So we're going to change this up a little bit. So locals are great. If you guys know anybody, or if you are somebody and you have music you'd like to submit, please email it to us.
Yes, and you can send it to Cruze, that's CRUZE, at rfcmedia.com. And what we're trying to do is become compliant here, because for years it's been okay for podcasters or people who are doing little streams or whatever to use like a little snippet, just like if you go on Amazon and you're trying out a track,
right? They let
to
you
see if you want to buy
seconds.
it. You can listen to 30 seconds of it, and but that's becoming less and less a thing that people are comfortable with. And I mentioned this last week. We've been invited to join a podcast network, and they have a real sensitivity about that. So I was like, okay, well, cool. We'll reveal more info about that network coming up in a couple of future shows. But basically, what it means is that we had to change the music to stuff that we know we've got permission on. So I will say I missed the Clash, because that just seemed like the right intro music.
Yes. But we had it 175 times.
Yes, we did.
So it's okay, I think, to change it once in a while. Plus,
we had it all the way to the halfway to 200 points.
Yep.
So,
plus, we always start the show with John Egan doing our theme song, which is pretty amazing.
Which he did for us, and you were responsible for helping to write that.
Yes, my buddy of mine helped me write that. We kind of co-wrote that, and he arranged, like, he's one of those guys who's just like, let's go get it done now kind of guys.
Yeah.
Like me, I went over, we did a songwriting session, we decided, okay, this was it. And he's like, well, who do we want to do? I was like, John Egan. I mean, because
he sounds
John
great.
Egan.
He's perfect. Because John Egan, yeah.
Yeah, because I just love that guy. And it was so funny because he calls me the next night. Like, he didn't care that I had anything else planned or anything. He was like, okay, so listen, we're going to be in Paul BB studio, BB Gun studio, like, tonight. Can you make it by? Like, he didn't even care if I'm there at this point.
Right.
Like, can you make it by?
Getting it done.
He's like, get it done. And we were out the next day with it. It was pretty awesome.
Well, it's so great. I love it. And we are, thrilled, obviously, to have a talent like John doing our theme song.
Yes.
That's just awesome. So Ian, show number 175 today, we'll be dealing with the new list from ratebeer.com of the best breweries in the world. And I think we will agree with some of their choices. I think we might not necessarily disagree that some of the breweries on the list shouldn't be there, but I'm going to do a little spoiler alert here. There are no breweries from Texas or Louisiana on this list. And being in Houston, obviously we're familiar with a lot of Texas breweries, and we're obviously very close to Louisiana, so we're familiar with some Louisiana breweries as well. So, and I think some of them are very good, and so what I thought we would do to augment this list is I've made a list of just like right now, at this moment in time, my 5 favorite breweries, just personal favorites.
Oh, I have a list of that myself.
And you have a list as well.
I
so
do.
One of the things we want to do, and we'll go ahead and put this out now, if you're watching the show on Facebook Live and you can jump in on the comments, please tell us your 5 favorite breweries, and we'll share those throughout the show if anybody does that as well. I think you got to think at least Wiki Brian would have 5 favorite breweries.
Yeah, and he's on. I can see him on here right now.
Good. And
5 favorite breweries.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you guys put up a list on there. We're gonna shout them out when we see them pop up here.
Speaking of the comments, whenever I share the show on Facebook when we start, I always try to type in something like "Here we go" or "Time for the show" or something. So today I went to type S&T time, my friends. But you know how sometimes you're trying to
correct.
Yeah, you're trying to you're misspelled something. You're trying to go back and correct it, and you hit the wrong button. So I wound up sending S&T time, my fro.
My fro.
So
you're all my fros.
Yeah, you're all my fros, and you're good fros, and I appreciate your fro-ship over the years. So a lot of good things going on today. We're going to be doing some great tasting. You may have seen on Mr. Twirlygig when the show was about to start, the Joel Ricard Extra Anjeo Tequila from Mexico. We'll be tasting some Extra Anjeo.
That bottle
today.
looks very fancy.
It looks very fancy.
Tequila.
Yeah, it looks very fancy, and I'm excited about tasting that. Plus, some interesting beers from our hometown of Houston, Texas. Spindletap Breweries Calavera Lager. It's a Vienna-Style lager, even though it's got, and you'll see this can in a little bit, but it's got a sort of a Day of the Dead look to the can, and so it doesn't look like it's Vienna-style. It looks more like it's maybe a Mexican lager.
Quite a few of the Spindletap beers.
Those guys.
They came in here, and I don't think I'd tried any of their beers before they came in here. And their Honey Hole has become one that I get anytime I see it.
And I am a very regular customer of theirs because they have their 5% Tint
Yes,
IPA,
the 5%
which is
Tint
one
is
of the
quite
best
good.
low-calorie, low-ABV beers of any style that I've come across. I absolutely love it, and that's a regular in my fridge. So anyway, so like those guys, we'll try the Calavera Lager. I've not tried it, so I'm looking forward to that. Speaking of IPAs, Adroit Theory, which is a really great brewery out of Virginia, Vint Hill, Virginia. They have an Imperial IPA called We Interrupt This Program, and we'll be bringing you, we'll interrupt our program to taste that. And I thought of you, actually, when I picked this one out for this week. Boulevard Brewing Company, great brewery. I
like all things Boulevard
number
Brewing, yes.
of their beers on here before. We'll be tasting their Plaid Habit. It's a Canadian whiskey barrel aged brown ale. And so we're looking forward to that.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it does. And those guys are out of Kansas City, Missouri, so where the reigning Super Bowl
I can't wait to hear
team
this
lives.
this top 100 list.
Well, I think it's going to be very interesting, and we'll do it.
I hate to skip ahead to it, but if there's no Texas breweries on it, I swear if they have a bunch of breweries from like nowhere.
Well, and I'm sure it's thick with Portland, Oregon, because that's the hippest city in the world, apparently. But there are some good breweries in Portland that probably deserve to be on there. So we'll get to that.
I'm just saying, if it's like all Oklahoma breweries, I know something's going on.
Well, yeah. Gee, I wonder where you might be from. Want to mention that our thoughts and prayers go out to the employees at Molson Coors in Milwaukee. There was a very sad incident there yesterday where a gunman came in, killed 5 people. He was killed as well at the brewery, at the offices there. Police have not yet offered a motive for the shooting. However, what we do know is that the gunman, who is also now deceased, was fired earlier that day. And so I guess he came back to work and took out some of his frustrations in the most horrible way, which, by the way, raises an important point to anyone who is in a business. If you have to let someone go Friday at 4 p.m., that's when you do it. That's when you do it. Like you give them time to do a little cool down over the weekend, just in case something like that's going to happen. Or you could try to couch it in, ridiculous language, like the broadcasters, Clear Channel. They recently, I call them Clear Channel. They're now iHeartRadio because they thought they needed a name that people didn't hate.
Does anyone listen to radio anymore?
I'm not sure. But I will say that when they let nearly 1,000 people go in January, they didn't call it a firing. They called it and I'm not making this up, employee dislocation.
I'm sorry for the silence there, but
dislocation.
Employee dislocation.
No, it deserves some silence.
What board got together and said, "Hey guys, so we have this problem.
It won't sound as bad.
We don't want to fire
these."
That's air quotes you hear in my voice right there. We don't want to fire these employees, but we do want to dislocate them out of our company.
Right. So
that's totally different.
So you can see the guy in the room, like, so am I being fired? Oh, no. You're being dislocated. You're an employee. We're having employee dislocation.
Look, you get to go home early.
Right. And by the way, in what may be the single uncoolest thing a major company has ever done when firing people, there was one particular radio market where they got with the manager and said, you need to let these people go, this person. So the manager had to go through this very tough day of announcing employee dislocation to all of his his employees.
Newly dislocated employees.
And then the next day he came in and they dislocated him. Now that is like the lowest of the low.
Wow.
Fire all these people today, and then you come in tomorrow and go, oh, yeah, you're fired.
Listen, Cruz, we're going to have you move your office to the basement.
But as long as I can mumble down there, it'll be okay. God, Stephen Root, man, what a great actor he is. And I've seen him in so many other things where he plays a completely different role.
Yeah.
And we're talking about Office Space, of course. But he's so great. He's so great in that movie.
The smarmy one. He just embodies
best.
it in that.
He's just the best. So anyway, our hearts go out to those who were affected. It was really a terrible thing in Milwaukee, and you hear about these things happening. You don't often hear about them happening at a brewery.
No, breweries I think are generally pretty safe places.
You would think, but who knows? The best cigar accessories when price is no object. We may have a chance to go over that list today. And, of course, the best breweries in the world. We'll be getting to that, and I'm really excited about it. Ian, before we go too much further in the show, two things I want to do. I want to thank Robert Licorice from Iron Root Republic Spirits. He was here with us last week, brought some incredible whiskeys. How good were those?
Last week I may have left here and gone straight to Austin.
Mm-hmm.
And I was hanging out with a friend that evening, and he's not a whole lot of a whiskey drinker, but I said, you've got to try this.
Because you had some of the Iron Root that you left behind, right?
And half a bottle later.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I crawled off to bed. I was like, I've had enough.
Yes. Sometimes you have to say it was
so good, though.
It's bedtime. So that's what I wanted to thank Robert because he was a great guest and brought great whiskey. And then I also wanted to ask if you'd had a chance to smoke anything interesting this week.
Now, you're probably aware that I did.
Yes. I think I saw you smoke most of it.
You did. Right?
Okay,
You only missed the tail end of it. So I walked into the Casa earlier today, Casa de Monte Cristo, where I usually go in the mornings and do a cigar review. Just because it's nice, I just like that whole, I can leave my house, I walk in there, I pick out a cigar, and then I just go sit down and hang out and enjoy the cigar. Because if I'm at my house, we even talked about this while we're there. If I'm at my house, I'm going to find other things to do while I'm smoking a cigar. I'm like, I could tinker on this or I could do that.
Right. You're maybe not paying quite as much attention.
Right. So it's nice to go do that. Well, I walked in, and on their end cap that always has the newest stuff, I found a Rocky Patel No. 6.
That's a brand new one from the Rocky
It is
line.
brand new, and I find that I haven't bought a Rocky Patel in a while. As much as I love Rocky Patel cigars, it's just there's so many things out there to try. Right. And again, we're going back to a brand that started me, was one of the pivotal brands that started me smoking cigars, And I thought, you know what, I'm going to have this Rocky Patel No. 6, and I bought two. I wasn't sure which size to I bought the Corona and the Robusto.
Okay.
And I wasn't sure which size was going to be better, so I smoked the Corona this morning for the review. Honduran Corojo wrapper, Honduran binder, Honduran and Nicaraguan filler. So mostly Honduran.
Rocky does a
going on
lot of Honduran tobacco
yeah.
in his cigars.
Light brown in appearance, smooth with some veins, firm overall feel. Looks like really solid construction. It's what you expect from a Rocky Patel. It's a very classic looking cigar. I like the band on it. It was really nice. It's got number 6 written out as the word number and then 6. And it has a little footer there to finish off the look.
I can see
really
the
nice
numbers.
looking, yeah.
Yeah.
The pre-light sniff on that was earth, toast, a little barnyard, a little hay. Not super fragrant, but nice. Really pleasant kind of earthy smell. The pre-light draw, I used a clip. I got a new lighter and clip
Yes, I know.
combo, by the way.
You've shown it off to me
I have it right here
a
in my
dozen
hand to show
times
the
at
audience.
least.
Check this out.
but it is very cool.
So this is my lighter.
All right, show them what it does.
Well, it lights cigars.
Well, we know that, but show the cutter part.
Well, attach this because I needed a new cutter. I gave my friend my nice metal cutter when I was in New Orleans a couple weeks ago because he didn't have one. He just had a little cheap plastic one. I was like, well, you got to have a good cutter, you know?
Right.
So I just went ahead and gave it to him. But I went in the other day to buy a new cutter, and I saw this thing. This, look how thin that is.
Gorgeous, and it's
this
so
thing
small,
will
so thin.
fit in your pocket so well, and it closes nice and tight, so it won't just flop open, and it works just single-sided cutter.
And what brand is this?
This is Cigar.
Okay.
And it's super. It's even got a little gauge. Let me put it up right up to the camera, see if you can get that.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a little gauge for your ring gauge size and everything, which I don't know that I need that, but I do like having.
It's still really, really
Yeah, it's
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
And it works great. And I was looking at it, and Steve over there goes, well, if you like that, you know, he goes, it magnetically clips to a lighter that we have there. And I said, what? And he showed me the little kit, and it does this. Watch, click.
Oh, that's
and just
beyond
fits
cool.
all together
just
and goes
beyond
right
cool.
in my pocket, all as one
And
unit.
then you've always got them both.
I'm so happy about that.
You
I'm
should
sorry
be.
I digress on this. Let's go ahead. And talk about a
so
cigar.
You use that to clip your cigar.
Of course I do.
Yes.
Thank you for letting me get to the point.
All right. So then what happened?
So once I used my fancy new clip, I used my fancy new lighter to light my cigar.
And this worked.
Yeah, it actually works great, and it's also got a nice big chamber for fuel, so you don't run out real quick. Let's see. The pre-light draw on this was just near effortless, right? I mean, it was really nice. The pre-light draw on it gave me notes of leather, hay, earth, some cappuccino, kind of maybe even a little creamy kind of flavors going on. The initial light was smooth. It's very smooth with a little pepper and coffee going on in it.
Nice.
Yeah, it lit up really smooth. It was no big pepper bomb, but there was definitely pepper present, and then it immediately went into the sweet zone.
Nice.
And I mean that because the first flavors that I got right after the initial light were sweet, creamy deliciousness is what I wrote down. Nutty with cappuccino and coffee flavors, hints of leather and earth with a little pepper on the finish, just a hint of it. The second third of this, very toasty and nutty. Flavors coffee and earth. Overall creaminess, finishing with leather and a touch of pepper. Flaky ash, perfect burn.
Nice.
Absolutely fantastic. Let's see. That's actually John Durbin from the Suffers calling me back.
Oh,
finally.
God, John, we want to use your music. So if
So
you
yeah, we're gonna have to look
yeah.
him. We're gonna have to call him back.
we
in
were
just a little
using
bit.
their music, but now we want to do it with
We
permission.
want to do it with permission.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
I'm gonna call him back.
Okay, good.
Let's see. The leather and a touch of pepper on the finish was really nice. Flaky ash, perfect burn. This thing burned
Nice.
like a laser all the way down. It was really, really nice. The last third of this, the pepper rants up a little bit to the front, but don't let that turn you off. This is a solid medium cigar.
Okay.
It's not a real big cigar. It's not a pepper bomb. It's just those flavors kind of pulled more towards the front. The leather moved up towards the front. Sweet nutty flavors took a little bit of a backseat. The earth and toast on the finish was really, really nice. It's just it left. It kind of the cigar kind of reversed the flavor profile towards the end. So whereas I had a peppery finish at the beginning of the cigar, I had a sweet toasty finish towards the end of the cigar.
Nice.
And flaky ash, which of course dropped on myself.
Of course you did.
Because it was flaky, but perfect burn like a laser all the way down to the end of this. You can see down to the my fingertips
Yeah,
right there,
yeah,
and
I
it's
can
straight
see that.
across. This cigar cost me $8.
Not bad.
For all that I just said, this cigar cost me $8. It gets a solid 6 on my price to quality. So you get more than you pay for with this cigar.
So if 5 means you get exactly what you pay for, you give this a 6, which means you wouldn't have been upset if it had been a couple dollars more.
If it was $10, I wouldn't have batted an eye.
Nice.
I wouldn't even have thought twice about it.
Rocky scores again.
Classic Rocky Patel, and I put with a Cuban soul because it has that somewhat kind of Cuban-esque flavors to it. That soil and some of the pepperiness that you get in there had
the sort of barnyard,
a little reminiscent of that to me. And so if you're a fan of that Cuban cigar feel, but you like a little more interesting, not more interesting than a Cuban cigar flavor, but more interesting flavors that you wouldn't get in a Cuban. This is a great cigar,
right? Because Cubans have tendency to be amazing, but they can sometimes be a bit more straightforward with those
very
Cuban,
classic
Cuban
very
sort of
classic
flavors.
Cuban, very cigar, straight up cigar flavor. Whereas Rocky Patel blended in a number of other flavors on top of that I think really, really rounded out the cigar. I was super happy with it. I actually am glad I bought both of them because I'm going to look forward to that.
To the Robusto,
to the Robusto a little later. So how about yourself? What were you smoking? I don't even know when I came in. We just started chatting.
Well, I chose, we were both at Casa de Monte Cristo, although I think I got there about 3/4 of a beer before you did.
Yes. About 3/4 of a beer.
But I had chosen out of the humidor the Monte Cristo Espada Oscuro. And what's interesting about this choice is because you never know, I never know what I'm going to choose when I go in, but I love they've got such a huge selection. I can always find something. Oh, I haven't had this, or I've had it, but maybe I haven't talked about it on the show. So something interesting to give some tasting notes on.
I think late last year or very early this year, I actually reviewed that cigar.
Well, I believe you did. And what was interesting to me after I chose it was that Steve, the manager there, says to me, "Oh, the Espada Oscuro." And then I ran into Ken Wen, our buddy from Casa de Monte Cristo, and he goes, "Oh, the Espada Oscuro." So it's like, okay, I must be in for something interesting here,
right?
To say the least, because they both kind of went out of their way to comment, "Oh, you chose that one."
I want to point out, if you're looking at the picture of this, if you're watching this online, that is a badass looking cigar.
Well, it is, and that picture actually I got off the internet because Steve was kind enough to clip it for me and use a V-cutter. But I forgot to take a picture before he took that bottom band off. So I wanted to show. So I found that picture on the internet to show what that bottom band looked like. But the Espada is Spanish for sword. And by the way, it's not called El Espada. But if it were, that would translate to the Espada.
That's right.
So that's, just
There's
offering
a band
that little,
called that, right?
I think maybe, or
It's
something similar
sword,
to that.
whatever.
Sword, yeah.
But if you're listening to them in Spanish, it would be the Espada.
Espada, yes. The cigar is blended with all Nicaraguan tobacco from the Plasencia factory. It uses a Habana Oscuro wrapper and binder and fillers, all from Nicaragua. The Monte Cristo blending team did the blend, but they went to Plasencia and basically were given free rein to choose any of the Plasencia tobacco that they wanted to choose for this. So it was a very interesting concept. The pre-light was very promising, a bit of nuttiness and some hay. Steve V-cut it for me, and once the cigar was lit, I got a sense for how rich that the flavors were going to be. There was lots of smoke, and the rich flavors kind of hit immediately. The cigar managed to give both a creamy sweetness and a good bit of spice kind of like right from the start. Some cigars wait until maybe like the second, third or so to start building in complexity. This one did it like from the third or fourth puff, which was very, very interesting. There was some cedar on the retrohale, some notes of strong black coffee. It started out medium to full, but by the midway point on this, we can drop the medium and just call it full. I mean, it was a really big cigar. In full Ian style, the ash dropped onto my shirt about an inch in. What was interesting is the ash was so solid that I actually scooped it up off my shirt and put it in the ashtray, and it stayed together.
That's always a little bit gratifying. Isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
That's gratifying in that weird way that peeling the plastic off of your new phone.
Oh, I love that.
It's that kind of feeling.
I love that. Yeah, when it's just pristine underneath, you're like, oh, yeah. The Espada is a $10 to $11 cigar. I'm going to tell you, I thought it was awesome. In fact, I'd go so far as to say I thought it was the best Monte Cristo I've ever smoked that was not blended by someone named A.J. Fernandez. I'm tempted to penalize its score because the AJ blends from Monte Cristo are a couple of dollars cheaper, but I enjoyed it so much I'm actually going to give it a 6. It honestly, if you had told me this was a $12 or $13 cigar, I'd have still felt like it lived up to its price. So the Monte Cristo Espada Oscuro. And by the way, this is a reblending of the Espada. There's an older Espada that I think got great reviews and did really well for them, but this one was reblended a year or so ago using that Plasencia tobacco, and they did.
I didn't know anything about the older
job.
one. Did you know anything about that?
I don't recall whether I ever smoked one of those or not, to be honest. But I do know that this was a reblending that came out because I looked it up on the internet and found everybody's talking about it being the new version. So, by the way, the burn wonderful and straight line, and it was just really enjoyable. I dug it. So, all right, Ian, we've got a lot to cover today, including a list of 100 breweries that were named by ratebeer.com as the 100 best breweries. Plus, we've got our own to throw in there, so we'll get to that. Plus, all the tastings that I mentioned. In fact, we're going to do a little brewery tasting from Spindletap in our next segment, so we'll look forward to that. You were checking out Smoking and Toasting, show number 175. Wow.
Halfway to 200.
Yep, and no one has stepped in to stop us. Oh, wait, I'm not supposed to say that. We'll be right back. Welcome back, my friends. It's Smoking and Toasting. This is the world-famous Smoking and Toasting, all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are proud to have you joining us for show number 175 as we talk about the best breweries in the world. We're brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant, 1814 Washington Ave in Houston, and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth, BB Italia on Memorial in Houston, and BB Lemon on Washington Ave, as well as the Annie Cafe and Bar on Post Oak Boulevard in Houston. If you live in Houston, check these places out. If you are visiting Houston, put at least one of those on your list of places to go while you were in town.
Like make those like when you're here for like that one special night that like I'm gonna have a good dinner that night,
and I'm going to B&B. So, all right, Ian, let's jump into this list and then we'll pause and taste some Calavera lager from Spindletap.
I love that can, by the way.
Rate Beer is a very, very popular beer website online, and they have released. They say that they have the most comprehensive ratings and reviews of beers from around the world. They have their own app, and they're generally thought of as being, very credible, right?
Yep.
So this is their list, and we'll jump into it right here. I love number 100 because I can't pronounce it. It is from Null in Norway, and maybe you can help me here, Ian. Lervig, I think I got the first word right, but here's where I break down. It's AKTIE BRYGGERI. Actibrigeri is what I'm going to go with.
Yeah, something like that.
I have never had one of their beers. I've never even tried to pronounce them until now.
Never even heard of it.
But they come in at number 100 from Norway. So put that on your list of things to visit when you're in Norway.
When in Norway.
Also from outside the United States at 99. Now I have had some beers from these guys. Brewdog.
Oh yeah,
Brewdog from Scotland. So there we go. At number 98. Dogfish Head from Milton, Delaware, Dogfish Head Brewery. So that's interesting because I think of Dogfish Head.
Dogfish Head gets 98.
Really elite, and they show up at 98 on this list.
Like they barely make the list? That's crazy.
I know. That's surprising me a little. I am not familiar with, maybe you are, from Gilbert, Arizona, number 97, the Arizona Wilderness Brewing Company.
Never.
I know you've had some Arizona beers, so I didn't know.
No, I haven't had that one.
At 96, the Holy Mountain Brewing Company from Seattle, Washington. I haven't had any of their beers yet. We do really work at trying to get beers from all over the place in here. Obviously, some states don't have distribution deals inside other states, or they have some states but not everywhere. Like Yuengling, for example, you can't get here in Texas, but you can get it in Florida and a lot of other places that aren't Pennsylvania. But Holy Mountain from Seattle is at 96. At 95, La Cumbre Brewing Company from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Not familiar with them either. I'm going to totally admit my ignorance when I don't know these breweries. Brasserie Oval Brewing Company from Quebec. is at number 94. And also from Quebec is the Brasserie du Bas Canada at number 93. So we should just road trip to Quebec because I bet there's an amazing craft beer scene because it's such a hip city,
right?
And you would think, and it's got such a good young adult population, like you would think that it would be a big deal for the craft brew scene. That'd be fun.
Let's do it.
Okay, good.
I'm down for that.
I'll start saving money. From Bavaria, Germany. At least this is from Bavaria. The brewery Ayang, Aying. Ayang, maybe is the correct pronunciation. But Ayang, Aying.
Yeah. Oh, no, I don't know that one. I was thinking, I thought you were saying Iinger, but I know Iinger.
And then from Athens, Ohio, sounding very like, I don't know, less wildly brew-oriented, Jackie O's Pub and Brewery from Athens, Ohio.
Oh.
I mean, yeah,
apparently they make good beer.
Yeah, apparently they do. I am familiar with this next one, and it is, as far as I know, and I aired earlier because I said there were no Texas breweries on this list. There is one. It is the Jester King Brewery from Austin.
That's pretty awesome.
Coming in at 90, and that is a very good brewery.
Yes, and they do all kinds of cool stuff.
Yes, they do. Yeah. So there's your first 10. We'll go a little bit further.
Can I pause that first 10 because we finally got someone in the comments telling us their favorite breweries?
Absolutely. Yes. So who is this?
So this is Matt Crow. Matt Crow's a friend of mine.
Okay.
He's also one of my CCSD brothers, and he owns a company that makes salsa, Esteban's salsa. It's very good. Especially he has one that has tea in it that's really, really delicious. We need to get him on the show at some point. But he always shares our show and everything like that. So thanks very much, Matt, for that. He likes his
top 5.
His top favorites are Spatzel. Of course, they make
Spatzel Brewery, which is
Shiner.
Shiner, right?
Right. Brash, Eureka Heights.
Oh, Brash is good. Yeah.
And then he put a comment. Oh, I thought you were talking about just small breweries. And then he added an addendum to his list. So he put Ram Brewery, which is Young's, like Young's Oatmeal Stout and stuff like that. And then Guinness Brewery, of course.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He tossed a 6 out there with a Beta.
This list, for me, doesn't even have to be craft. It can be
anything you want.
Any brewery that you think is the best or that made the list. By the way, speaking of the comments, and we would love for you guys to send us your 5 favorite breweries.
Yeah, put them down in the comments
if you're
while
on
we're
Facebook.
talking.
Yeah, I did get a nice check-in from our buddy. I thought it was from Wiki Brian. Maybe now I've just lost the.
If it's got U of H by it, it's Brian.
Oh yes, he says according to the Department of Labor, we talked about people being fired, but it was called employee dislocation instead.
Right.
According to the Department of Labor, a worker is considered dislocated if he or she meets one of the following criteria: has been laid off or received a layoff notice from a job or receives unemployment benefits as a result of being laid off and is unlikely to return to a previous occupation. So, yeah, that's basically being fired.
Yeah, that's called being fired.
All right. So let's do a few more of these. Then we're going to taste some Spindletap, and then we'll take a break, come back, and maybe share some more. I would love for you guys to send us more of these. At number 89, we are familiar with this one, and they are from Oklahoma, Prairie Artisan Ales. You are familiar.
Yes.
And they make great beer. They make, I think, really... I started to say complicated beers. I've never had a Prairie Artisan Ale that was like what you might call a normal beer style. It's always
their whole bomb series.
Yeah, it's always something really interestingly put together. So I'm glad they made the list, and I would agree with them being on the list. Lawson's Finest Liquids at number 88 from Waitsfield, Vermont. I don't know Lawson's, but I feel like I want to. I feel like it's something that I should
definitely
be getting more familiar with. At number 87, from Petaluma, California, Lagunitas, which is owned by Heineken,
yeah,
but they make great beer. At number 86, we'll go to 85 for now. At number 86, Abbaye Notre Dame de Saint-Remy, Brasserie Roquefort from Belgium. And I'm sure I murdered that pronunciation, and I apologize. I do my best on these, but yeah, some of them I'm just not that good at. And at number 85, the Veil Brewing Company. Veil as in a bride's veil.
Right.
Out of Richmond, Virginia. So there you go with...
we have another fan list here from Brian.
Okay.
From Wiki Brian. He puts up Allagash, Real Ale, and I'm going to go ahead and give a spoiler. Real Ale is not on my list, but it really wanted to be.
Oh, interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
So when
yeah.
I get my list,
Real Ale
just
is
know
good.
that I wanted Real Ale.
Allagash. Allagash is wonderful. I used to live not terribly far from the Allagash Brewery, and it was a wonderful thing to be close to.
Well, I'm not saying Wiki Brian's taste in beer is extreme, but the next ones are Unibrow, Deschutes, and Russian River.
Well, yeah. I mean, see, those are all great breweries, and at least so far,
I love drinking beer with that guy.
We haven't come across. Well, I can see why.
Nothing is ever under like 8%.
Speaking of having fun drinking beer, let's try some Spindletap. We had this on Mr. Twirly Gig, but you can see the Calavera lager looks, from the appearances of the can, looks a little more like a Mexican lager, but this is actually described as
the Day of the Dead Vienna-Style.
Is there any kind of a connection between Mexican lager and Vienna-Style that I'm just not aware of?
No idea that I know of. That's a Wiki Brian question. Mm-hmm. There's not. It's a 4.8% by volume.
It doesn't taste like a Mexican lager. It tastes much more like a Bavarian or something along those lines, which would make sense for it being
fruit.
A Vienna.
It's got a little fruit to it.
Yeah.
Not a lot, but just a hint of it. That's really interesting, and not sour either.
No, not at all. It's very much got that sort of European lager flavor to it in my to my taste buds, at least.
They put very little information on the can.
Yeah, well,
it is 12 fluid ounces.
Well, we know
and
that
it is 4.8% alcohol. And that's pretty much all you get.
Well, and it's got a very interesting, a very interesting picture. But I like it.
Crushable.
I think it's really good.
This is crushable. This has got a nice bitter, slightly bitter finish that just finishes nice and clean. Leaves your mouth wanting a little bit more.
Yeah, sometimes with the Bavarian lagers or the Vienna lagers, sometimes they'll have this great flavor, but the finish is bitter in a way that kind of stays with you and isn't necessarily my favorite kind of bitter. This does not have that. It finishes super clean. You get some of that flavor on the actual palate when you drink it, but it doesn't necessarily linger with you in that sort of like skunky malty kind of way.
No, this right here, this is like the finish on this is perfect for food. I think in general, this would go great with just about anything.
I will say, I'm
pizza.
A little spoiler on my 5 list. I really kind of wanted to include these guys, and I didn't because I'm such a fan of their 5% 10.
Yeah, that's a good beer.
And their other IPAs, as you might guess, most of the breweries that are on my list make what I consider to be an amazing IPA. That's just where my taste has a tendency to run, although I love other styles and stuff. But Spindletap, these guys have got IPA figured out. They really do. But this is proof that they know how to do other styles and do them well.
Well, this is probably almost instantly my second favorite beer from them, right behind the Honey Hole.
The Honey Hole's an ESB, and that's a great beer.
Yeah, that's really, really good.
That's a great beer. So Calavera Lager, good stuff. Do we have more lists coming in?
I don't have another list yet. We're just there so far. Did you want to catch up a couple more?
Well, I tell you what, let's do. Let's take a break now, and we'll come back. We have more tasting to do, so we'll jump into this list. Ian and I will be sharing our personal favorite lists on the show as well. But let's do a little more tasting. We'll crank out a little more of this list, and we'll be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting, and thank you for joining us for show number 175.
Awesome.
New bumper music.
Ooh, I like that.
Nice, huh?
It's got a very Eminence front kind of feel.
Oh, it does. I hadn't thought of it, but yes. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Hey! So this is kind of fun, the new bumper
I like
music.
that one, too.
Yeah, that might be fun for the show open. Adam, make a note. We might try that for the Well in a subsequent episode, because that could be fun. Like when it
right off of that scream.
Yeah, with the scream doing the well there. That's not bad. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting, show number 175, which puts us
halfway to 200.
Yep. We're talking about the best breweries in the world, and we are all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. It's appropriate for us to talk about the best breweries in the world since we are the world-famous Smoking and Toasting.
Hi, Mom.
And I don't know if you guys didn't hear the show. I don't know. It was like 5, 6, 7 shows ago where I said it was now. I was now okay with using the phrase "world famous" because my mom was actually now aware of the show. My mom doesn't smoke or drink, so when she became aware of it, I was
Now
like,
she's just disappointed.
That's exactly right, and we've crossed some mythical line there somewhere. I'm not sure what it was, but we're brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant. Somebody said in the show notes, I think it was Brian who said, "Did someone say bacon?" Actually, no, we didn't, but we should have because bacon. Is bacon at B&B Butchers and Restaurant. Oh, my God.
Man, so good.
Yeah,
Also
oh
at
my
Lemon.
God, yeah. Kevin Copeland, by the way, didn't send us a list, but he did send a shout-out to Eureka Heights, and he also said that Lawson's has Sip of Sunshine.
Kevin's on the Eureka Heights cycling team with me.
Oh, cool. Yeah, Eureka Heights is awesome. They also have some great beers.
Yeah, him and his
Another
wife
one
are super cool people.
Another one that I would love to have included on my list. You know, you and I both made this list of our personal top 5.
Yes.
Was not hard to come up with 5.
No.
Was hard to pare it down.
Yes.
To 5.
Yes.
Oh my God. I mean, seriously. And this is just nothing more than opinion. This is just like my personal favorites that I look for when I shop and buy whenever I can, but certainly they're not the only 5. So welcome back to the show. We are doing this list. What started this whole thing was the list from Rate Beer, which when I first went through the list, I thought there's no Texas breweries on this. I was wrong. There was an Austin brewery. Jester King
was on there.
was on there, so that's good. But now as we jump into number 84, this is where we left off. And, of course, this is where we left off because I can't pronounce this either. I'm going to go with Pohjola. It's Pohjala, and it's located in Estonia, from Tallinn, Estonia.
I'm going to go with that because I don't know anything
It's
better.
got the little thing over the O, so I believe you would pronounce it Pohjola, but I could be way off. Pohjala with the little squirrely line over the O. At number 83, I can pronounce these guys, and I'm familiar with their beers. From Dexter, Michigan, Jolly Pumpkin Artisan Ales.
We've had a couple
We've
of
had
those
a couple,
on there.
yes,
yeah.
yes. And they're not all – everything they make isn't pumpkin beer, but they do love their pumpkin.
Well, so we had one of their – as a matter of fact, we got introduced to them because I think we were doing a pumpkin beer show.
I think we were doing a pumpkin beer show,
And
yes.
we tried one of their pumpkin beers, but then I think we've tried one of their other beers. I'd have
One
to
of
go
the
back and
non-pumpkin.
listen to see which one, yeah.
Yep. Almanac Beer Company at number 82 from San Francisco, California. I know several San Francisco breweries, but I'm not familiar with Almanac. So.
No, I don't know that one.
At number 81, the New Glarus Brewing Company from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I believe we've had a beer of theirs on the show, and I believe it went over
Yeah,
very
Glarus
well.
is good.
De Doyle Brewers in Belgium at number 80. Drake's Brewing Company at 79 from San Leandro, California. And at number 78, Angry Chair Brewing from Tampa, Florida.
And we had an Angry Chair
Yes,
on
we
here
did.
at one point.
Yes, we did.
We also have had their beer.
But you know, at 77, LTM, La Troy Mousquetaires. That's just what I'm calling it. I'm sure it's pronounced differently, but Mousquetaires. It's from Quebec also. See, I'm telling you, we got a road trip to Quebec.
Yeah, well, let's do it.
That would be a blast. That's a long trip, but it'd be a blast. At number 76, from Asheville, North Carolina, Wicked Weed, making this the first AB InBev-owned brewery on the list. But Wicked Weed...
Wicked Weed's pretty mighty beer.
Yeah, they really are. And at number 75, the Half Acre Beer Company out of Chicago, Illinois. So that's where we are on the list so far.
That's pretty good. We don't have any more
no new beer
listener
lists?
lists coming.
All right, well,
hey, you guys, put your top five favorite breweries on here. We're going to list them off and see how we feel, how everyone else feels about it. Let's get a conversation going in the comments.
If you are on the show on the live feed or on Ian's watch party on Facebook, please chime in and let's see what you got. We're going to taste another one here, Ian. This is from a brewery, again, like I would love to have put these on my list because I love their beers. Adroit Theory. This is a really, that sounded wonderful. This is a really strong brewery out of Virginia, out of Vint, Virginia, and they are very, very good with IPAs, although they make a number of different styles. They've got a stout that is wonderful. and they're very creative. And as you saw from the can artwork, they're also very creative with their can artwork. And can artwork's becoming more and more of a thing, if you think about it, especially with a lot of these limited release beers.
This, for those of you who don't watch and only listen, Josh, this has like the classic. The classic, what is that? The Da Vinci,
right?
Man.
That's the man at the center of the universe, or whatever that is called. I should know what that's actually called, and I don't.
But it's interesting because like one side is like an X-ray of the bones, and the other side is muscles overlaid, and it's pretty cool. I like the can. What does it say on here? Double dry hopped Eldorado Citra, Azacca, and Amarillo. It says food pairing: slow cooked short ribs with gremolata.
Well, yes.
Let's see, cheese, Mariki Gouda.
Oh, Gouda, yep.
Cigar, GTO Gold Churchill.
Nice. Well, I can tell you
that's pretty cool that they actually just suggest.
It's one of the things I love about Adroit Theories. They always suggest pairings on their cans, and this is maybe the fourth, fifth Adroit Theory beer we've had on the show, and I think we've liked most everything. On the nose, this thing is a juice bomb.
This is as good an IPA as it gets right here.
Wow, that's high praise from you.
This is good. It smells floral.
Yes.
It smells citrus. It finishes with a citrus snap, not a hop bitter.
Absolutely. Yes.
None of the resiny bitter. None of that is going on. It finishes with a citrus bitter.
It's called "We Interrupt This Program," by the way. Is the name of the
stops
IPA.
Right after you swallow and leaves you with a fruity. You know that taste when you just take a sip of orange juice.
Mm-hmm.
It leaves you with that
sort of citrusy tang to it. Not to invoke the name of a powdered orange drink, but yeah.
Don't worry, there's no astronauts here.
This is really quite delicious.
This is as good as an IPA gets right here. This is really outstanding. I'm surprised that I like this as much as I do.
Juice bomb for sure. Adroit Theory. We interrupt this program. That's
and because it doesn't leave your mouth with that super bitter hoppiness or any of that resiny bitterness or pine cone, I can see why it goes well with a cigar. You know, and I'm assuming that the GTO, I don't know this cigar, the GTO Gold Churchill, I'm assuming any cigar called Gold is usually on the
lighter side. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because it's a lighter colored cigar and it's like that. So I'm assuming that's kind of on the milder side, and I could see this working with it because it's not going to interrupt the flavors and it's not bitter enough to really go against the flavors of a cigar.
I would describe it as being kind of like Frosted Lucky Charms.
How do you feel about this?
It's magically delicious. I'm just saying. No, this is really, really good. Now, I will say that at this point in my beer tasting journey, I've tried a number of really juicy IPAs, and this definitely ranks right up there with any of them that I've had. I mean, it's really delicious. It's getting, to be honest, a little hard for me to say, okay, this one is the best, or this one is, one of the two or three best. I've had enough of them now that have been great. It's like, but is it better than Indigenous? Like, is it or Ingenious rather? Is it better than some of the bare bottle stuff? It's like, it's so good.
So I have a couple things to say here. First off, my nephew has clocked on here and mentioned that that's the Vitruvian Man on there, and I couldn't come up with the name. So thank you for that save.
Yeah, I'm such an idiot.
Thank you for that save, Kevin. This IPA is as good as Stone. It's so balanced.
Very different though from a Stone IPA.
Yeah, but it's very balanced. It's that kind of good. It's like that top level. This is good, like the 90-minute IPA is good. It's incredibly balanced. I'm throwing this in there with the best IPAs that I know.
Well,
this is like a beefed up, juicy, citrusy version of like Bell's Two Hearted Ale.
Mark it down, people. Halfway to show number 200
on this.
At 175, I've brought in an IPA that Ian is raving about. That's a big deal.
Outstanding.
That's a big deal. It is quite good. Find it, grab it if you can. Adroit Theory. We interrupt this program. I'm so happy I brought that in. I'm so happy.
Yeah, it's delicious.
All right, this is really good. All right, I tell you what, let's do. Let's go ahead and take another break because we have a lot to talk about and a lot to share. We still have our own personal list, but we want to change gears a little bit and try some tequila in our next segment. We have an extra Anjeo from Joel Ricard. Joel Ricard, I believe we've had their rum on the show before, one of their rums on the show before, but this is a tequila, so it'll be very interesting to see how these guys do in the tequila realm. What is he called?
Let me put that up on the twirly gig.
What is he called? The Vitruvian Man.
The Vitruvian Man.
All right. So we'll be back with Tequila Time, and we're getting very close to Ian revealing his top 5 personal favorite best breweries. So I'm excited about hearing yours.
Oh, when you said I had to reveal, I thought you were talking about something else.
No. We are not getting close to that, and probably will not be getting close to that. But we will be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. It's show number 175. As we do the program all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars, we are brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant, 1814 Washington Ave in Houston, and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. Bacon. And by the way, we're going to be at B&B in several weeks. The show that is...
I can hardly contain myself.
The show that is right before St. Patrick's Day. We are going to get together with our buddy Jeremiah there at B&B and do some Irish whiskey tasting for St. Pat's Day.
Oh, you know who else is going to be there? I think we're going to have another guest, too.
Yes, we are.
We're going to have some cigars.
Yes.
We're going to have Oliva. Trenton from Oliva is going to come on.
Oliva,
We haven't seen Trenton in so long. The last time we saw him, we weren't even doing video yet, I think.
I think that's right, yes, when he came on the show.
Yes, we were out at the Man Cave, which has been now a couple years a different name.
Hasn't even been the Man Cave in a long time.
Hasn't even been the Man Cave, right? And this was one of the early shows where Alan Denny, it was his second time on the show, because the first time on the show was while we were doing a Cigars of the World event, the very first event we
Whiskeys
did.
of the World.
Whiskeys of the World event. And he and the Man Cave were sponsoring the cigars there. So it's interesting because it ties way back. He was one of our early cigar reps that came onto the show.
And if you think about it, going all the way back to that show, and Alan Denny, who's gone on to be a friend of the show and a guy that no one cares about.
That's right.
And we'll be looking forward to having Alan. Also, and Alan, I'm going to be sending you an official invitation to this, so please don't feel like I'm just committing you to it on the show. But if Alan can make it coming up in several weeks, we're going to be having Alan as well as Chris Hart, another guy that no one cares about. We're going to be having both of them on the show and doing a little whiskey blind taste test.
Whiskey blind taste
Doesn't that sound like fun?
It does sound like fun.
When we thought about doing it, I was like, that sounds like fun. Let's do it.
Yes, that's a great idea.
So, speaking of tasting, we're going to jump into some tequila here in a moment, and maybe Ian, you can do a little pouring while I go back to our list and reveal the next. Where did we leave off? Oh yes, the Half Acre Beer Company out of Chicago, Illinois, at number 75 was where we stopped. So now we'll jump into. Let's do a big chunk of this list here. At 74, Avery Brewing Company from Boulder, Colorado. These guys were just
I can get
purchased,
behind that.
if you remember, but they have been a wonderful craft brewery for quite some time and will continue, I think, to make great beer. Out of Seattle, Fremont Brewing Company. We've had some of their beers on the show. They are a really solid brewery. Bellwoods Brewery out of Toronto. Are you familiar with Bellwoods? Ian, this is a new one to me, so very interesting. From Berkshire, England, Siren Craft Brew. Oh, I so feel a road trip coming. That wouldn't even be a road trip. That'd be a ocean trip. At number 70, from Anaheim, Bottle Logic. We've had one of Bottle Logic's beers on the show before. And at number 69, I'm so glad that this one made the list, Ballast Point Brewing Company out of San Diego. Those guys, and we had, now the rep that we had on from those guys does not work with them anymore, but we had Ballast Point on the show really pretty early in the history of the show. Yeah. And man, those guys can make some IPAs.
Agreed.
I mean, seriously. They just make great IPAs. And their IPAs are very different, too. They're not like your standard run-of-the-mill sort of IPAs. But they do great sours. They do a great stout. They're a wonderful brewery. Crooked Stave Artisan Beer Project out of Denver at 68. Method Goat out of Belgium at 67. Out of Miami, Florida, J. Wakefield Brewing comes in at 66. I'm not familiar with J. Wakefield.
There's a lot of these.
66 is a pretty high number for it to not be a brewery that I've actually heard of. Not that I'm supposed to know everything, but you just would think that you're already drinking tequila.
I am.
All right.
It's research.
I understand.
I'm still listening. I actually can drink tequila and listen to you.
Jay Wakefield is at 66. Amateur Brigas out of Denmark is at 65. Again, apologize for me butchering some of these pronunciations here. I'm doing my best. Surly Brewing Company out of Minneapolis at 64. Out of Stockholm, Sweden, Omnipollo, or Omnipollo, if you pronounce it the way we would pronounce it here in Texas, at 63. Casey Brewing and Blending out of Glenwood Springs at 62. Out of Portland, Oregon, Hair of the Dog Brewing Company at 61.
I love the name of
Hair of the Dog, yep. And Hansa Borg out of Norway at 60. Now, we've got quite a bit of the list left, but you're already jumping in ahead of me on the tequila, so I'm a little tequila distracted right now.
I feel like I'm not the first person to taste this bottle.
Well, you might be right. You might be right.
Because I'm picturing you coming home with a brand new bottle and not opening it till the show.
Dude, this is the thing. I went out. I was at Specs in Midtown Houston, saw this bottle, decided that's the one I was going to get for us to taste on the show. It is so hard to bring that home, set it out on the counter, and not open it up for an initial taste. I try to.
First off, you're a real person.
Yeah.
Okay, whether you realize this or not. You're a real person, and as a real person, when you bring home a new toy, you want to play with it.
Indeed.
And that includes anything you bring home that you have to unwrap or open.
Right.
Right?
Plus,
so that doesn't include clothes, because generally you don't have to unwrap or open them.
Right.
Unless they're socks, but whatever. But it does include bottles of whiskey.
And particularly when it's tequila or rum, because my wife loves both tequila and rum, right? She'll drink whiskey, but she loves tequila and rum. So when I bring that home, I'm like, oh, man, she's coming home from work. We could taste it. We could do a little toast. It would be awesome. Yeah, it's hard. So, yes, I have been into this one before. But I'm very curious to know what you think. I love this on the nose. This is an extra añejo, which is the most aged iteration of tequila, but I think to be an extra añejo, it only has to be 3 years. So tequila doesn't age for as long as some of the whiskeys and some of the other spirits. Talk to me, Ian, about your taste buds and your palate and what they're telling you about the Joel Ricard
first off,
extra añejo.
The nose on this is striking. It's not what you expect. It smells like tequila, but there are other elements in there that you don't exactly expect. There's a sweetness to the nose that I don't usually connect with tequila. The flavor of this, though, is super striking because it comes across with pepper, like a swipe of pepper right across the palate, and then that immediately goes away, and then you get this vanilla
and maple is what I'm
maple. Yeah, I would go with. I couldn't quite think what else, but maple makes sense to me. But the vanilla is so strong, and then it finishes like a really super clean mineral water. Like it finishes like Avion or like one of those. Like, that nice mineral water
You're right.
flavor you get in your mouth.
A minerality that you would be more likely to associate with maybe whiskey.
Yes.
Yeah, but here it is in a tequila.
It's right here at the end of this, and it leaves, and there's barely heat. The heat that it does have comes on slightly early, and it's just heat. It's not burn. It's just heat.
Yeah.
Comes on slightly early, and then rolls off, and then just barely hangs around in the aftertaste.
The flavor profile is different, but it reminds me of the Skelly, which is one of our all-time favorite tequilas, in the way that it goes down so smooth.
I'm amazed at how thin the mouthfeel is on this.
Agreed.
And
yes.
I don't mean that in a bad way. It just is what it is, It's a lot thinner than you'd think.
Right. You would be expecting, given the level of flavor that this has, you would be expecting a more viscous kind of a feel when it's on your tongue. But
I mean, it's got a little bit of oiliness to it, but it's not a lot.
So overall, your take?
It's delicious. It's the pepperiness really attracts me to this, because it's such a good pepper. Like, when I say pepper, I don't mean pepper like it just burns the palate pepper, but I mean pepper as in like a good cream gravy with pepper flavor.
Kind of a black
like
pepper.
Black pepper flavor.
But it's not like the Hornitos Anjeo, which is a very inexpensive Añejo tequila. But it is a pepper bomb. I mean, it is just black pepper everywhere. This is not that intense. It's more understated, but yet it's there. It's kind of the first thing that hits your palate is that pepper.
There's a little caramel in there, too.
Yes,
I think
there is.
probably from the barrel aging that happens. It's really, really nice. So you're not taking this bottle home today, are you?
Why would I do that?
I'm just wondering.
Yeah. I'm curious if there's going to be anything left in the bottle for me to take
it's
home.
really, really, really good.
It really is good. But a wonderful sipping tequila. And, again, don't buy this and mix margaritas with it because that's just a waste of wonderful sipping tequila. I'm sure
I
would
love to taste this with some, lime and salt.
Oh, yeah, right.
I like that it just keeps going.
Not only
a
does
little
it
bit
keep
longer
going,
than it should.
But it's so tinny that it almost like brings to mind a very early black and white sitcom when they first started using audiences to. This is delicious. I mean, it's. I want to say it's about an $80 to $90 bottle, so it's not inexpensive.
That's really pricey for tequila.
But it's also not. I mean, a La Familia, which is my very favorite tequila in the world.
Right?
Yeah, it's in the 150 range. So it's still not quite there. So yes, it is a little pricey for a bottle of tequila, more pricey than the Skelly, but I think it may be a step above.
I don't know. You're gonna have to bring the Skelly again to prove that, because the Skelly is so smooth. This though has I think a little more complexity than the Skelly.
My friend, you know what's in your future?
The more I try this, like there's a little cinnamon in there.
Right, it does have more complexity. You're right. The Skelly is wonderfully complex, but this is even more so. You know what's in your future, my friend?
What's that?
A tequila blind taste test.
Oh. I see what you did. You thought of whiskey blind taste test,
yes,
and then you're seeing how we can expand this idea.
See, this is what I love to do.
We're gonna blind taste test everything.
I love to taste test. That's what I love to do.
Coming up next,
All right.
Rubber Band blind taste test.
All right, we've got more of this list to knock
red
out.
Or is that weird gummy color?
We've got more of this list to knock out, and we've got our personal top fives. And anybody else, you've still got time to get them in if you want to send them on the show notes. The list of your 5 favorite breweries. Even if you don't have 5, you want to send 1 or 2, that's fine.
Yeah, somebody throw out some good breweries out there.
Yeah, because there are some great ones out there. They're not all going to make this list, I promise you. And so we would love to hear from you about your list. Yeah, Real Ale. That was a very thoughtful addition.
Very much.
All right, we'll be right back at Smoking and Toasting, and this is show number 175.
Halfway to 200.
Beginning.
Welcome back at Smoking and Toasting. This is the radio program and podcast that is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars and tequila today. We are both still just completely loving on this tequila. This is wonderful.
I wish all of you could taste this with me.
And if you were here, you would.
That's right.
Yeah. So looking very much forward to, at some point we got to do the show with a live audience and we can just like pass out drinks to everybody. Wouldn't that be awesome?
We have a brewery shout out here from Bruce Stark. He says Brewery Becker in Brighton.
Brewery Becker. I'm not familiar with Brewery Becker. Do you know? He says it's 6 blocks from his house. So
that's got to be nice. If I had a brewery 6 blocks from my house, it'd probably be one of my favorites.
My man Todd Newton is watching. Todd is in Arizona. Todd, send us a list of some good Arizona breweries that we should check out. Todd, by the way, is the man. He is the man. I'll tell you about his wonderfulness later. Right now, I got to blaze through some more
Tell
of this
him to
list.
stop keeping me down.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's that kind of guy. He's that kind of guy. At number 59, the Garage Project Brewery in Wellington, New Zealand. That would be a road trip. I've always wanted to go to New Zealand. Never have. Now that I know,
feel like if
Garage
you did a
Project,
road trip to New Zealand,
yeah,
you probably wouldn't make it.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not. Cantillon in Belgium is number 58. At number 57, Anchorage Brewing Company in Anchorage, Alaska. We've had a number of their beers on. That is a rockin' brewery. Speaking of rockin' breweries, from Placentia, California, at number 56, The Brewery, which is the one that's spelled Bruery.
They're so
Those guys know what's going on.
Yeah.
That's a great one. Totally agree with that. Suarez Family Brewery in Livingston, New York at 55. Northern Monk Brew Company in Yorkshire, England at 54. And at number 53, we're going to try one in this segment. Boulevard Brewing out of Kansas City, Missouri. It was worth the delay. It was worth the delay. Boulevard is a brewery. We've had a number of their beers on the show before. I mean, we're halfway to 200. We were at show number 175.
That's right.
But we've never tried their Plaid Habit. Tell me about this
Plaid
beer.
Habit. Doesn't that sound awesome? Look at the
yeah.
So first off, it's got the classic red plaid, and it just says Plaid Habit.
Well, you've heard of Bad Habit. This is Plaid Habit.
Right. This is Canadian whiskey barrel aged Imperial brown. Every syllable of that sounds delicious.
That sounds
to
like
me.
your kind of a beer, doesn't it?
Very much, very much. Spoiler alert: 12.5%.
Yeah, this is why we saved this for last. Even though it's a smaller bottle, this is going to have some.
And you know
some
how a lot
serious
of beers
heft.
boast like the 75 IBUs, 178 IBUs. All this one has 13 of them. 13 international bittering units.
Wonderful. Well, we'll check it out. While Ian's opening that and doing the pouring, I'm going to blaze through some more of this list. We talked about Boulevard at 53. At 52 is Kuhnhen Brewing out of Warren, Michigan. That's Kuhnhen. Kuhnhen. Brasserie de la Seine out of Belgium at 51. Cellarmaker Brewing out of San Francisco at number 50. So now we're into the top 50, Ian. 49 is Deschutes out of Bend, Oregon.
That was on Brian's list.
Yep. Broar Pinta out of Poland at 48. Abdige St. Sixtus out of Belgium at 47. At number 46, I'm thrilled to see these guys make the list. Sierra Nevada Brewing Company out of Chico, California.
Yeah, Sierra Nevada.
Love those guys. Magic Rock Brewing out of Yorkshire, England at 45. Wylam Brewery out of Newcastle upon Tyne in England at 44. At number 43, we've had a number of these guys' beers on the show. They're the ones with the really long names. Evil Twin Brewing out of Queens, New York. Yeah, they're the ones that had, I'm not going to get it right, but it was about the feeling that I get when I'm standing in line behind someone who wants to swipe on the subway and they don't know how to swipe.
That's right.
It was something like that. That
They
was
also
the name
had
of the
something
beer.
about staying in a hotel room over Christmas and blah, blah, blah.
Right. Yes.
Like their names are so long that you're never
Yeah,
going to remember them, but they're hilarious.
Brewery Omegang out of Cooperstown, New York at 42. I have one of those in the fridge. We'll have to bring that in and sample it very soon. So I have no idea how to pronounce this brewery name. Out of Copenhagen, Denmark. It's 201. T-O and then 01 with the slash through the zero. So I have no idea how you even say that.
No idea.
But they're from Denmark, and people in Denmark like to drink beer, so that's a good thing. At 40, Funky Buddha out of Oakland Park,
I like some
Florida.
Funky Buddha.
They are owned by Constellation Brands now, but they still make the list. Other Half Brewing out of Brooklyn at 39. At 38, Three Floyds out of Munster, Indiana.
Oh.
Those guys can make them some beer. At 37, Russian River Brewing out of Santa Rosa.
That's the second off
California.
of Brian's list. That's been on.
Yeah. So Brian did a pretty good job nailing it. At 36, Stone Brewing out of Escondido, California.
That's one I wanted to put on my list too.
Yep.
But I didn't
Yeah,
make it.
see, I wanted to get them on mine, and they didn't make it, which is really, oh, man, I've had so many great Stone IPAs over the years.
Yep.
Very different
It
IPAs.
was one of the early that brewery right there is one of the ones where when I was just like exploring beer, they were one of the bigger better beers that I had tried, and I just became a fanboy of theirs because their beers were so balanced and full, and in a land of East Coast versus West Coast IPAs, and everyone's making their stuff too hoppy and bitter in the first place. Their stuff is always balanced.
But their stuff is very hoppy, but yet the balance they achieve is
matters.
really amazing. So Stone at number 35, thumbs up for that. Monkish at 35 out of Torrance, California. And at number 34, I believe this was also on Brian's list, Allagash Brewing Company out of Portland, Maine. So Brian nailed ones that are on this list on his top 5.
You should have just had him make the list.
I think so. Brasserie Dunham from Quebec at 33. Fuller's Brewery out of London. They're owned by the Asahi company. Brewers 3 Fontaine out of Belgium at 31. And at number 30, and we'll pause and do a tasting now, Alpine Beer Company out of Alpine, California. So 29 to go, Ian. And then our personal faves. And I will say throughout this segment so far, I've been finishing up my tequila.
You've been drinking tequila instead of beer?
So wonderful. But I have not started on the beer yet, so let's start with you. This is the Plaid Habit from Boulevard.
There are things that I love about this beer, and there's one thing that I don't quite love about this beer,
Okay,
but it's not a deal breaker. First off, nose-wise, it's not as present as I thought it would be.
Oh, you're right. I mean, you can get a little bit of that sort of barley wine.
But then again, it's a brown ale.
But it's a brown, yes.
It's not, stout. It's not a porter.
Right.
It's a brown ale.
And it's probably not going to have the mouthfeel of those beers.
That's the other one thing that I would expect it to have a little more was mouthfeel. But now, again, it's not a deal breaker.
But it's a brown ale, and that's why. If you
I
think
will
about,
tell you.
If you think about browns that you have tried and enjoyed, they probably don't have the big mouthfeel of a barley wine or an Imperial Stout.
I cheer for them year after year, and they let me down. Oh, sorry, that was a sports.
They let a lot of people down, trust me. Shout out to Steve and Meg, my buddy Steve, who works here in this little studio complex. His wife is a lifelong Browns fan, or as we like to say, a glutton for punishment.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me go ahead and tell you the list of stuff that I love. First off, I love the name. Plaid Habit is awesome.
Yeah.
I love the flavor. This is, when I said it was 13 IBUs, there's nothing bitter about this beer at all. This beer is so sweet and so delicious. Like, I could drink this so much. I love that it's, what is it? 12.8
or 12.5,
or whatever it is, yeah.
It's got a great sort of booziness to it.
It drinks a little boozy, but it's not, it doesn't, like, slap you across the face with it.
Mm-hmm.
I love the absolute lack of carbonation. There's just barely carbonated.
Okay, so we've complained actually a little bit recently about some of the, even some of the beers that we've tried that are the American style of the barley wine, that are just too carbonated.
Yeah,
it detracts from the enjoyment of
carbonation.
The beer.
Does.
Oh, it's great in certain
to
places.
Certain
Yes,
beers,
absolutely.
Like, you don't want to drink a Mexican lager
No.
uncarbonated.
No, absolutely
a
not.
little weird.
Absolutely not. And IPAs is a good example of sometimes it's great, sometimes it's too much. It can really, I think, distract from the sort of hoppiness and the floralness of an IPA if you get it too carbonated. But if you get an IPA that's too flat, it's not good either.
This right here... My mom makes a cake called a mocha cake. Have you ever had one of these things? I don't know.
I think I know what it would taste like.
I don't know what it really is, but it tastes like this. This has this molasses, this super dark molasses.
I'm going to tell you, I love this beer.
This is so good.
I think this is delicious. And
I
Boulevard,
could drink this
you.
way faster than its 12 point.
Yes, than a 12.5 would
12.5% deserves.
Yeah,
yes.
no, you're absolutely right. This should be sipped, but it could be almost crushed, and that would be dangerous.
Oh yeah, this is so good. This is. I mean,
it's delicious, Ian.
It's a lot of things that I love, and if you look closely in the bottom of your glass, you'll notice it's a little chunky too there, buddy.
I'm looking at the bottom of my glass, and I don't see really much of anything.
Here, let me show you what I got here.
I think there's something wrong with my beer because... Are there chunks in there?
There are chunks in this beer, sir.
Oh, man. See, I was liking it.
Would you like some more?
I don't know if I want chunky beer, but yes, I'll take some more.
Let me swirl it
All
around
right.
and get the
Well,
chunks
you
up there
swirl
for
it
you.
around and get some chunks for me. Let's hit number 29 on the Break Beer list. Jack's Abbey Brewing out of Framingham, Massachusetts. That didn't exist when I lived in Massachusetts, but I've heard good things about Jack's Abbey. I've not had their beer. Buxton Brewery in England at 28. Mickler San Diego at number 27. The Maine Beer Company out of Freeport, Maine at 26. Now, I will tell you, I so agree with this. These guys are like specialty beer specialists, which is horrible grammar, but it's a
Specialty
thing.
beer specialist.
Yeah, but it's a thing.
They specialize in
they're-
being specialty beer specialists.
Yes, that's right.
They're
pretty
especially special at being specialized.
It's a
in
really
specialty beers.
special thing. Yes, but they are awesome. I love Maine Beer Company. We've had a couple of their beers on the show, and they've been fantastic. I've got a few sitting in my beer closet that I'm very excited about getting to. The Verdant Brewing Company out of Falmouth, England. Goose Island comes in at 24. Now, I agree with Goose Island being on the list. I mean, if nothing else, their Bourbon County Stout would put them on this list.
Let's go ahead and air this out right now
But
because
there's been some disappointments with Goose Island. Like their IPA is not as good as it used to be, right?
true. But let's go ahead and air a few things out. First
Okay.
off, as far as best breweries go, we're going to have, if you're doing a list of 100, we're going to have some breweries on there that are now owned by AB InBev.
Sure.
And I am not going to come on here and say that they all make bad beer because that's not going to be true. Okay.
All right.
I will come on here and say that when I can avoid putting money in AB InBev's pocket, I do.
Yeah.
Like, that is my stance on it. And yes, it's a little snobby. I get it. But I really just do. Like,
But wouldn't it be so
unfortunately-
much better to give it to an independent brewer?
Yes.
To give your money to them?
That's my thought, is I would rather spend my money towards an independent brewer than
Right.
AB InBev. And it's mostly, it's not even because, oh, well, it's a huge corporation, you must hate it. No, it's because I've read and I've heard about all the underhanded tactics that they do. Their bully campaign on their commercials drives me nuts. Like, I don't want to support that.
Well, and I will tell you that Goose Island IPA used to be better than it is today. I don't know why. I don't know how. But I used to think it was a really, really good IPA. And today I think it's okay. You know, so, and that's just one example. There's a number of other beers that they make that I've heard and read kind of the same thing about, that, you know, they're not bad beer by any means. They just taste a little more mass produced, if that's a thing.
Nope.
All right, so that's at
see why.
24. At number 23, I believe you may have heard of this brewery, Mr. Ian Bell's Brewery.
I have
at
heard of that
23,
brewery.
out of Comstock, Michigan at 23. Tired Hands Brewing out of Ardmore, Pennsylvania. I believe we've had one of their beers on the show, and Ardmore really right around the corner from where I used to live in Pennsylvania. San Diego, California's Modern Times Beer at 21. So here at 21 is a brewery I'm completely unfamiliar with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, not that I'm supposed to know, but how do you make it to 21?
You're
and
an
I
expert.
haven't.
Don't you have a show about beer?
I'm just, my dad used to say an X is a has-been and a spurt is a squirt under pressure. So that's what an expert winds up being. At number 20, from Akron, Ohio, the Hop and Frog Brewery. At least I've heard of Hop and Frog.
yeah.
I haven't had any of their beers, but I've heard of them. Cycle Brewing from St. Petersburg, Florida at number 19. Destruce Brewers out of Belgium at number 18. Brasserie du Ciel out of Quebec at 17. Crazy that it's this high on the list, and like I'm not
familiar with it.
Yeah, not familiar with. Mikkeller out of Copenhagen, Denmark at number 16. Swinkels Family Brewers out of the
Never
Netherlands
heard of that.
at 15. At 14, we've had these guys' beers. Toppling Goliath Brewing Company
Oh, yeah.
out of Iowa. Crazy. There's not much to do in Iowa, but if I'm ever there,
But you
I'm
got Toppling
going
Goliath.
to Toppling
Yeah.
Goliath because those guys got it going
Well,
on.
they're compensating for something.
Port Brewing Company / The Lost Abbey out of San Marcos, California.
Yes.
We've had The Lost
Yes,
Abbey before. Very, very good. DeGard Brewing out of Tillamook, Oregon. I don't think we've had a
I don't think
DeGard
so.
beer.
They make great
No.
cheese in Tillamook.
The Colonel, Kernel, the Colonel Brewery out of London, England at number 11. At number 10, wow, this is a huge showing for this brewery, and I love these guys, and I really wanted to fit them into my top 5, and I didn't. Firestone Walker Brewing Company.
Firestone Walker's
They
good.
make those guys make
Yeah.
their what is it, the 805? 805, thank you. That's one of the
So
best
good.
lager, just straightforward lagers ever, and their IPA series is beyond belief. Very, very good stuff. Sante Adarius Rustic Ales out of Capitola, California at number 9. Cloudwater Brew Company out of Manchester, England at number 8. At number 7, Ian, I'm so proud of these guys for ranking this high on this list. Founders Brewing Company out of Grand Rapids,
Yeah, buddy.
Michigan. Those guys have got it going on.
I'm a fan.
I am a fan.
I don't know
as
if you
well.
know this, but I'm a fan.
I believe I do. Alesmith Brewing Company at number 6.
Alesmith is good.
Alesmith out of San Diego,
Their
California.
Speedway Stout. Their
It's just
barley
all,
wine
it's
is
just
so good.
all
Like,
really
they're
good.
so good.
It's all really good. All right, so now we're into the top 5 of the Rate Beer list. At number 5, Cigar City Brewing out of Tampa, Florida.
Wow. Like, they're good.
I love these guys.
They're good. Their brown ale, their Maduro is so good.
And the Highlight, oh my God, it's so
Highlight,
good. And the Guy Barra.
Yeah.
This is all great beer. I don't know if I'd have put them in the top 5. I love them, but I don't know if I'd put them in the top 5.
I'm assuming everyone quit watching this show right now because no one has put up their top 5 lists.
Either
since
that or
last-
we just got Brian does say that Brasserie du Ciel has great beers. I may have a couple I can share with you. Well, bring it.
Dude, Brian, come on the show.
Yeah,
All you got to do is get a Thursday off.
You are consider yourself invited.
Absolutely.
Come in for our whiskey blind taste test. That'll be fun.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah, that'd
dude,
be
Brian would be most fun at that or at the B&B.
At the B&B. Well, he's invited to that as well. At number 4, out of Charlton, Massachusetts, Treehouse Brewing Company. I'm familiar with the name, but I don't think I've had any of their beers. They're number 4 on this. At 3, also out of Massachusetts, Trillium Brewing Company out of Boston. Yeah.
I don't know.
I at least know the name. I just don't know their beers. Out of Maplewood, Missouri, number 2, Side Project Brewing.
We've had a few of theirs.
Yes, we have,
show,
and they've been good.
Yeah.
They've been good. And at number 1, you heard a lot about this brewery this year. Out of Greensboro, Vermont, Hill Farmstead Brewery. So these guys make a lot of those, like table beers. You know what I'm talking about? The farmhouse ales. So there you go. That's the list. I felt like their top 5 was a bit underwhelming, to be honest with you. Some of my favorite beers, some of my favorite breweries that are on their list are further down. Again, it's just me. Ian, we have a choice to make here. We've sampled our beers. We've wrapped up the segments of the show regarding the rate beer. Do we want to put your list and my list in the bonus segment?
Let's do it.
All right, so we're going to wrap up the show here because we're trying to bring the show in at closer to an hour. But we're happy to do a bonus segment. So we'll come back in the bonus segment. We'll still be drinking the Boulevard Plaid. What is it? Plaid. I'm waiting for the Mr. Twirly Geek to turn it around so I can see that.
It's Plaid Habit.
Thank you. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. Maybe it was the tequila. But in any case, we'll continue to drink this, and we'll be back in our bonus segment. Ian and I will reveal our top 5 personal breweries, and anybody else that wants to send one in, you got a moment here. Do it now. It's the comments under the Facebook. Yeah. So, Ian, it's been a great show. Thank you very much. Back for the bonus segment
Cheers to you.
in just a moment. And for everybody that is wrapping it up with this one, cheers. We love you guys.
We have just publicly invited Brian on the show. Now he has to come out.
Yeah, right.